I'm sorry to rapidly transition from an actual king to just not a king, a peon, Ben Shabibo. Ben Shabibo has finally released a cut of what his take is on the Trump raid. Let's take
Unfortunately, in my absence, it seems as though things have gotten a lot worse here, largely because of the...
It's like all these motherfuckers took vacation right as Trump got... All these motherfuckers took vacation right as Trump got like raided.
Weaponization of the FBI and DOJ. And it's hard for me at this point to read what is going on with the FBI and DOJ and see it as anything other than weaponization. The reason I say this is because they've now released the search warrant on Donald Trump's place of residence at Mar-a-Lago. They've released some of the underlying legal materials. Merrick Garland has then emerged to explain in front of the cameras that he, in fact, ordered the code red. It was he who signed off on this FBI search on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property. And here is the problem. We still don't know what exactly they are looking for. And we're learning every day about more stuff that they took from Donald Trump. Here's the thing. If you are going to search the residence of the former president of the United States and the probable next nominee for the opposing political party, you'd best have an incredibly clear and convincing case as to why you are doing so. You can't just do so as a deep-sea fishing expedition. And that's what this appears to be. Now, you might be able to find something with a fishing expedition. What you find better be absolutely outsized. You cannot go on a deep-sea fishing expedition here and come up with a minnow and then say, it was all justified because we came up with this minnow right here. You see this tiny little fish? We came up with this. Sure, we weaponized the DOJ and the
What are you talking about, dude? You can't, you literally, first of all, you can do that. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, you can't consider this a fishing expedition if, like, one of the fucking crimes fits the bill. Okay, that's number one, which it does. Ben Shapiro is not just personally talking about this immediately after it happened. He has the knowledge of what we all know, the events that took place. You can't just say, oh man, it's still a fucking fishing expedition at this stage. Except Republicans would literally say everything's a little minnow if they find anything anyway, even if it's a really big deal. But also, okay, this didn't even need to happen. It could have been completely avoided if Trump had cooperated with the authorities.
You had to go after our political opponents, and what we came up with was this small fish. No, you're going to have to come up with Moby Dick here. You're going to have to come up with an actual white whale spouting oil. I mean, that is really what you're going to have to come up with here, and that is not in evidence so far. Every other minute, it seems, we are learning that they took something else from Mar-a-Lago. According to the UK Daily Mail, the Justice Department has hit back at Donald Trump's claim the FBI stole his passports during the raid on his Mar-a-Lago mansion. An insider told CBS the agency does not have the documents, but added whatever was seized that was not on the warrant will in fact be returned. It comes after the former president on Monday claimed his passports were taken, which would mean that he could not leave the country. And this led to all sorts of speculation. Of course, on the left, the way that this works is that the minute you find out what sort of documents they seize, then they go, oh, well, obviously he's guilty. If they took his passports...
Bro, you do this too. You were just on vacation, so you couldn't do this. Except you're literally doing something even worse than the speculation. You already have knowledge of what some of the documents are at least classified as. You know that, like, at least some of them are literally of the highest security clearance. And yet you're still saying, it's a minnow, it's a minnow, it's a fishing expedition. It's like, bro, what do you mean? Like, dude... These guys love crafting a narrative by just completely avoiding, like, fundamentally important parts of the events that took place. It's so crazy. It's just like, yeah, it's really unacceptable that they did this. It's like, well, you know, they do have a legal reasoning for it. You know, they do have a legal basis for behaving this way. And also, it's kind of on Trump.
It means they don't want him to flee. Donald Trump is a flight risk from the United States. Yeah, sure. Or they seized secret, classified documents. Probably it was the nuclear launch codes, and he was about to hand them over to the Russians or to the Saudis because, you know, Jared Kushner has some sort of money deal with the Saudis. The speculation on the left is always and forever that whatever people are searching for on Donald Trump, they must have something. They must have...
Wait, what? Like, but that is what happened. What do you mean? But Jared Kushner did get $2 billion from the Saudi government. They invested They got a $2 billion investment from the Kingdom's Sovereign Wealth Fund for his newly formed private equity firm. Bro, these motherfuckers cry about Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden never got $2 billion. You know what I mean? He got like fucking diamonds and shit. Why are you saying supposedly $2 billion? Like, what is that, a little amount of money? If $2 billion is not that big of a deal, what are we talking about Chinese diamonds that fucking... Why are we even ever considering Chinese diamonds that Hunter Biden may or may not have gotten? Or the fucking Burisma deal. You know what I mean? That's pennies, dog. What the fuck?
Have something. And here's the thing. If you're a rational human being, and you watch the FBI and DOJ go after Donald Trump while he was president for 4 years over Russiagate, you start to wonder if they really do have something. Or is it just true that everyone is incompetent all the time? And so the combination of incompetence and gradual malevolence on the part of some people in the FBI and DOJ has some really dire consequences. As I said when this news first broke, in order for you to raid, and you can say it's a raid, you can say it's search, it doesn't really matter. In order to search the residence of the former president of the United States and current leader of the opposition to the president of the United States, in order to search his residence, you have to have high institutional trust in the so-called nonpartisan aspects of the American government. You have to trust that the FBI actually is not politicized. You have to trust the DOJ is not politicized. But it's hard to think of a time in modern American history when there's been less trust in these institutions. And so what you are doing is you are staking the possibility of faith in the institutions on a claim that appears to be slim as a reed.
Dude, I love this. This is like liberal posturing, by the way. This undermines the credibility of our institutions. Like, fuck you. No one cares. Shut the fuck up, bitch. If you truly cared about it, you wouldn't be working overtime in further undermining the credibility of these institutions, which I don't give a shit about anyway. But like, you're simultaneously lying to further undermine and erode trust within the FBI by cutting this fucking video. Like, what do you mean? You're like, oh man, it's just like, how dare they do this? They're undermining the institutions. Like, well, you're fucking selling a lie to your audience to do that. So perhaps that's one reason why trust has been eroded in our institutions.
I say this because I've now looked at the search warrant and it cites 3 separate parts of the United States legal code. It cites 18 U.S. Code 793. That's the Espionage Act, talking about the gathering, transmitting, or losing of defense information. And particularly, it is talking about important classified information. It cites also U.S. Code 18, Section 2071, concealment, removal, or mutilation generally of materials. And it cites also 18 U.S. Code 1519.
By the way, when you show stuff like this, you're just showing that Ben is successful and Fox News is successful and Trump is successful in propagandizing something that would otherwise cause him to, be jailed, or otherwise cause him to, in a normal country, cause people to be skeptical of him. Okay? So the ground is set for people, no matter what, to maintain their position that Trump is great and he should win. And it doesn't matter if the FBI is investigating him or not. That's not going to change. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this really galvanizes support. Of course it galvanizes support. Everything will galvanize support. When Trump is mentioned in the media, it gets people hyped up. It gets people going. They love him. No matter what he does, like, you're not going to be able to change that reality. I mean, the past 5-6 years should be a perfect example of that. So I feel like this is like, what's the alternative here? Are you supposed to dance around? Are you supposed to dance around Donald Trump because you know that, like, any action you take against them, any action you take against him is going to be propagandized and will probably end up creating more support for him? Yeah. I mean, yeah, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, he said, and not lose votes.
So smart. And you know what else? My people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. No, they say, Trump, we love you too, man. Trump's voters are by far, you know, I'm at 68, 69%. I'm at 90% total.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. He could literally hand deliver a nuke to Mohammed bin Salman and his supporters would be like, no, king, he deserves it. Mohammed bin Salman, by extension of being around Donald Trump, is also my king now.
Which is about the destruction,
Mohammed bin Salman, more like Mohammed bin solving the problem. You know what I mean?
Alteration or falsification of
the problem is children in Yemen.
Records in federal investigations and bankruptcy. So we were originally told...
They'd be like, who cares about New York? Nuke it. You know what I mean? Who cares? There's enough... There's a lot of bi-coastal elitists living there. You know what I mean? Like, that's... Trump supporters would be like, yeah, no, it's fine that a dirty bomb was blown up in the middle of New York. They were all Democrats. There was a Democrat-run city, so it was their fault.
Told that the search on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property was about classified documents he still had in his possession. And this raised a bunch of questions. It raised question number one. Were these actually classified documents? Because the president has plenary power to declassify documents while he's still in office. So if the day before he took all of this stuff to his residence, he said, just out loud, this stuff is now declassified. It is totally unclear, legally speaking, whether he has to go through any sort of procedure to declassify. Because again,
No, that's not true. That's literally not true. That is completely false. No, there is, especially when it comes to like nuclear documents, there's a separate process on top of that. There's a process for declassification, and he just straight up made that up. He's like, technically, it's unclear whether these documents are declassified or not because Donald Trump might have declassified them. He says he did. It's like, no, but he didn't. Like, that's not how that works. And even if that was how it worked, do you think Ben Shapiro would feel the same way if it was a Democratic president that declassified nuclear details, nuclear information that is the highest security? Do you think Ben Shapiro would sit idly by and be like, oh yeah, well that's okay. A president could technically do that. Like, no, of course he wouldn't fucking feel that way.
Power to declassify lies in the president of the United States. And there's no actual procedure for declassification. It doesn't say by statute or under the Constitution that he has to sign some sort of form saying this stuff is declassified. He can basically just do a Michael Scott, perhaps, walk into the middle of the office, say, I hereby declare bankruptcy. I declare that this is declassified. And now all of it is declassified. So he has now said, by the way,
some of that information doesn't even fucking matter if he declassified it or not. Like, if the government wants to retrieve it, they can. So even if he fucking declassified it, it still doesn't matter. Why is Ben not talking about that? Well, I know why he's not talking about that, because that would undermine the propaganda, the propagandized point he's trying to fucking make.
In my administration.
Yeah, we'll do a Legal Eagles video on all the crimes.
This is what he did. And Donald Trump, as sort of a defense mechanism here, he has said that this is precisely what he did. Apparently, a statement was put out to John Solomon, a reporter at Just the News, in which Donald Trump says this, quote, as we can all relate to, everyone ends up having to bring home their work from time to time. American presidents are no different. President Trump, in order to prepare the work the next day, often took documents, including classified documents, to the residence. He had a standing order that documents removed from the Oval Office and taken.
So you're conceding that they can declare it declassified? No, I'm not. I'm not even conceding on that. That's bullshit. The idea that you could just like declassify it in your mind is so fucking stupid. No, of course you can't do that. That is a made up point. And it literally started with the Heritage Foundation. I showed you. Okay. When this information first came out, people were asking what the declassification process worked. And I made a joke about like, well, what if he just said it in his mind? You know what I mean? What if that could be a fucking way that they would try to defend it? Like, how stupid would that be? And then literally 3 hours later, there was a Heritage Foundation guy who wrote that as a legitimate fucking reason. Like, he said, there's an ongoing robust debate in the legal field about whether a president could declassify materials in his mind without telling any other person. And I thought that was a joke at first, but no, they literally were going with that. And now that talking point has been disseminated through all of the propaganda machine, through the entire fucking propaganda machine. And now you got motherfuckers like Ben Shapiro repeating it like as if it's a fact. They moved on from like the robust legal debate, which was never a robust legal debate, by the way. That's not a real thing. That did not fucking happen. What? Here's a fun thing. I love Trump's legal team, dude. The Heritage Foundation, Stimson has a different view. I love Republicans so much because this is where they thrive, right? Like, they've already been dominating in the talking point game for too long. So now they have to pop off, right? This is a moment where they have to act swiftly. So what kind of legal defense have they brought up? If any president decides to declassify a document, it doesn't tell anybody, but he has made the decision to declassify something, then that document is declassified, Stimson said. He added that there's a rich debate about whether or not a document is declassified if a president has decided, but not communicated it outside of his own head. Whoa! He just said a president can think about declassifying and declassify a document without telling any other motherfucker, and then it doesn't matter. Stop playing with me, Heritage Foundation. Let's fucking go. New talking point just dropped. Here's a... That's crazy. Like, that's just insanity that they went from there's a robust legal debate, which when there was none, to that's actually what people believe. That's where it went down from the Heritage Foundation, where the talking point was created and disseminated through the mouths of people like Ben Shapiro. Okay? And now people are just unironically turning around and going, yeah, that's the truth. That's how it works. He could have done that.
To the residents were deemed to be declassified the moment he removed them. The power to classify and declassify documents rests solely with the President of the United States. The idea that some paper-pushing bureaucrat with classification authority delegated by the President needs to approve the declassification is absurd. So the claim here is no one can tell the President that stuff is actually still classified if he declares it declassified. Maybe he's doing this post hoc. Maybe he didn't actually say at the time it's declassified. But it's going to be very hard to prove that in a court of law.
Oh my God, he's saying you can even do it post hoc. That is unimaginable. Like, he's saying even if he's cheating and even if he's claiming that he's doing it post hoc, that doesn't matter because it'll be really hard to prove in a court. Okay, so what, motherfucker? First of all, there is no legal debate here. Okay, you just made that up. Dude, that's, I don't know what to say. It's like, it's like you're dealing with children. Like, it's the most childish defense you could launch. And because everyone is so fucking stupid, it works.
Well, and again, when it comes to
5,000,
classification and declassification, generally speaking, these are not...
No, he's saying even if he did it afterwards, like even if he decided to do it afterwards, there's no way to prove it in a court of law that he didn't do it in his mind when he was president. So he's saying like Trump could technically do it, okay? If Trump can do it without informing anyone, he could just claim he did it while he was in office and no one would be able to undermine that. That, of course, is insane. It's basically just saying like, a president, once you're president once, you're literally forever king. You're forever God king. It's not even dude, it is so fucking stupid. It's not even an argument. I don't know how to approach it other than like, holy shit. I mean, yeah, President Bill Clinton has now declared all of Hillary's emails declassified. This argument is totally not brain dead. Like, come on, dude. Yeah, Bill Clinton actually declassified all of Hillary Clinton's emails in perpetuity, so it doesn't matter. Nice, because there are no procedures done for declassified docs. Of course there are. That's why it's ridiculous. The argument hinges on there being no procedure for it. This, of course, makes it additionally funnier because they were also claiming that the FBI planted documents. Originally, they were like, well, what if the FBI planted documents? So what's up? Did he fucking declassify those documents in his head too? You know. Oh, the FBI planted those documents, which I also declassified in my head because I knew that the FBI would probably plant those documents there. So, no, boo-boo. You can't get me. Like a child. Literally like a child. But of course, because we have like emotionally and mentally stunted human beings in this fucking country as a consequence of deliberately undermining public education over the course of a fucking century, that people are like, yeah, that makes sense to me. I like Donald Trump. He's on. I'm a vibes-based voter. I like him. He makes the libs pissed off. So if he wants to declassify documents, I don't give a fuck. He should be able to have the nuclear launch codes and give it to whoever the fuck he pleases.
Statutes like the Espionage Act that have significant criminal penalties attached. They've largely been used with regard, well, the Espionage Act does. Rather, when you talk about, for example, the presidential archives, anything having to do with the National Archives and the taking home of materials that belong in the National Archives, that's not stuff that really has criminal penalties attached. The Espionage Act does. But the Espionage Act also suggests that you have to have some level of intent, generally speaking, or gross negligence in order to be charged under the Espionage Act, which is exactly why Hillary Clinton was not. And so what exactly is the DOJ and the FBI doing here?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is gross negligence, I think. Right? Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say refusing to respond to a subpoena, or responding to a subpoena and then lying about some of the additional documents that you still kept after the government asked to retrieve them? Wouldn't you say that that's like incredibly fucking stupid? That it definitely is grossly negligent, I think. But technically, well, I'm Ben Shapiro, I've decided that the president cannot be neglectful because everything the president does is devoid of neglect. It's not gross. It might be negligent, but it's not grossly negligent because Trump is incapable of being gross, which is precisely why I believe that Donald Trump is innocent. He's infallible.
This is the major question. So Andy McCarthy over at National Review, he has a good breakdown. And here's what he said.
By the way, speaking of like vibes-based commentary, there is no better example, okay? There is no better example of like how little people care about the actual substance of the conversations and more so just care about vibes overall than people listening to Ben Shapiro as the facts over feelings guy, okay? Because like everything in this commentary is completely devoid of facts. Either he's lying by omission when he leaves out key details, or he's just straight up lying and bringing up ridiculous legal solutions that are not legal, okay, that have never existed. And people still think he's like a brilliant fucking nerd. Why? Because he looks like a nerd and he talks like a nerd. He talks fast and he has this like Weasley fucking voice. So people assume that he's on their side and therefore like everything he has to say. They're like, oh, this is great.
As he says, we can see the investigation is far broader than just the mishandling of classified information. Remember, this was the original case. The original case was he has classified information at his residence. And
part of the reason why I just want like anything to come out of this is because like it will really anger these motherfuckers, okay? I want it so bad. I want it for pure spite-based reasons, okay? I have no interest in like morality. I have no interest in justice in this circumstance. Trump has done a bunch of fucked up things when he was in office, okay? Awful white nativist immigration policies, really fucking ramping up white supremacist talking points, like openly stating them from the bully pulpit, you know, all this awfulness, right? But I'm a petty bitch. At this point, like, I don't even have a moral slant on this, you know? I don't even care. I just want him to fucking suffer. And I want, more importantly than Trump, because I do still, you know, love Trump because I think he's a great poster. Even if he goes to jail, he should be allowed to post from jail. That would be fucking sick. I want these Republican shitheads to get so mad. I want them to get even more mad because it's just great. I like that. It just gives me happiness. That's it.
And as I say, this raises a number of questions. Number one, the president of the United States can declassify.
Fishing my life, stupid lib. I am not a liberal, my friend. I will make concessions to you right now. Throw some Democrats in jail too, okay? Throw some fucking Democrats in jail too. Oof, all the better. Throw a couple Democrats in jail. Throw Donald Trump in jail. Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy. You know what I mean? Joe Manchin. Joe Brandon. Throw Brandon in jail. Manchin, Sinema, Nancy Pelosi. Oof, oof. So good.
Number two, if this classified information was so all-fired important, why are they going to get it? By claiming that the National Archives is missing it, using the non-criminal statute. And then they release the search warrant. It says, oh, no, it's not just the National Archives stuff. It's also the Espionage Act stuff.
Wait, what do you mean? Yeah, of course they didn't want to, because they didn't want to rock the boat, dumbass. That's the main reason. They didn't want to rock the boat. They didn't want to rock the boat. They didn't want to cause fucking chaos. Trump was the only person who lit the fire to make this even more chaotic. Okay? That's it. That's the reason. That's the main reason. They didn't want to rock the boat because the FBI doesn't want to fucking prosecute a wealthy, powerful person. Get the fuck out of here. That's not what they do. That's exactly the opposite of what they do. That's the point. That's the reason.
It's also these other aspects of American law. But what this really looks like in the end, as Andy McCarthy explains, is grab every paper you can find at Mar-a-Lago because maybe we'll come up with something. Here's what Andy McCarthy says. He says, while the Espionage Act offense relates to defense secrets, the other two offenses are not limited to classified information. Section 2071 relates to the removal or concealment of any government record, not just classified information. Section 1519 applies to any item at all. It need not be a government record, for the point is to protect government investigations, not government property. And then it looks like the search warrant prioritizes classified information crimes, but less so than it first appears. One of the subsections of the attachment to the search warrant authorizes agents to seize documents marked classified, but the license is much, much broader. The warrant allows seizures of not only containers in which classified documents are found, along with their other contents, even if they're not classified, but
I love him like glancing over the Espionage Act proportion of this to like, of course, hyper focus on the sides of it that sides of the conversation that are not as irrelevant and wouldn't clear the bar of like a retrieval of said documents with like FBI agents.
Also of other containers found proximate to the first containers, again, regardless of whether the contents are classified. So if the agents found a box and inside that box there was a low-level classified document and that was stored next to 10 other containers of non-classified documents, the warrant would allow the FBI to simply grab all of those things. And the warrant also permits the seizure of communications in any form regarding classified information. So, in other words, if I write a note and I make reference to classified information, but don't actually state the specified classified information, that could also have been grabbed by the FBI.
A box marked TSSCI being found takes Ben's entire argument behind a shed and extrajudicially executes it. Yes. That's it. That's all you need. Like, it doesn't matter if they took his fucking passports on accident and then immediately informed him that they took his passports and we're going to give it back. Okay? And that's the first time that Trump even recognized that his passports were recovered, which, by the way, his lawyer signed off on. So good job on his lawyer. Christina Bobb, shouts out to her. Okay? It does not fucking matter if the rest of it are like, McDonald's menus from that time when he served McDonald's. Once you have top level security clearance, classified information that has been retrieved, that's it. And they knew that that was there. That's how they signed off on the fucking search warrant, okay, by a Republican judge, okay? And that's it. It's done. So everything else you talk about is fucking silly. It's stupid, okay? Yeah, you could have jaywalked after you committed a murder, but ultimately you're being tried for murder, okay? When they bust your door down and arrest you for murder, you can't turn around and be like, well, I was, they're arresting me for jaywalking. No, they're not. They're arresting you for murder, okay? They're investigating you for murder. Not the jaywalking that matters.
And all of this precedes one of the subsections that Andy McCarthy correctly says is really elastic. This permits the seizure of any government and or presidential records created throughout the 4 years of Trump's presidency. This has nothing to do with classified information. It's mainly designed to use the criminal law, the search warrant, to enforce the Presidential Records Act, which, again, as I say, is not a criminal statute. The National Archives Presidential Records Act stuff, that is not criminal statute. So maybe they can get away with this sort of search warrant, but to pretend that this is a very specific, targeted, laser-like approach to finding specific documents that are a national security threat, that is not what this looks like in any way, shape, or form. It is far broader than that, and that raises serious political questions.
But you don't have political questions. You're making political answers right now. You're making it seem like they had no reason to do this, while at the end offering minor concessions to like, well, it is within their legal purview to do this. This was 9 minutes of Ben Shapiro literally saying they can't do this, only at the end to be like, well, they could technically do this. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the 9-minute video then.
But it seems like the strategy by the DOJ and the FBI here is basically throw everything against the wall, see what sticks, toss a bunch of lines in the deep sea, hope to come up with a really big fish.
Yeah, what they did. So, yeah, they did. And you recognize that they did. So it doesn't really matter.